2011, when I blew out I blew out my knee in 2009. I didn't have insurance, so I had to wait to get it fixed.
Oh, shoot.
But during that time, I had a job. I ended up losing that job, the only job I've ever lost in my life. And I became a stay-at-home dad with our first kid in 2012. And I got to tell you, someone who was raised by his mom, who was taught that men work and men provide, that was a tough time for me being a stay-at-home dad.
Yeah.
But man, I tell this to my viewership all the time. The things that we go through, you never know what the next step is. You could think it's the worst thing in the world, and it turns into the biggest blessing you could possibly imagine. And staying home with my daughter was life-changing in the most amazing ways.
Welcome to Tarkov, a podcast for content creators who come on and share their stories, experiences, and advice. And today I have the Loyal Patriot. Welcome.
Hey, Barry, thanks for having me on.
No problem, man. Really excited to have you on. I had Ariana on a while ago, and she called you at the end of the podcast as someone to come on. So that's how we ended up here.
Yeah, I called her out for calling me out. I let her know. But it's all good. Yeah, she's good people.
She's good people. That's what I found with I started this podcast really focused on the Tarkov community, and then eventually got some people in the DayZ space, Ariana, Joito, and they're just good people.
Joito, man, I call her Joito.
Oh, okay. I see.
She's never corrected me, but I guarantee you're right and I'm wrong.
I'm saying it like with a Newfie accent or something like that. So I just for simplicity, I just call her Joe, and it's like that works. So
I have a thing in my stream where I really try and focus on my regulars and remembering them.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that I say their name right. Whatever I said the first time is just what it sticks.
Nice. All right. So what we normally do on the pod to get things rolling, we do 3 random questions to get the juices going. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So best thing about where you live?
I have 0 neighbors.
Oh, that's awesome. Nice. All right. So now you're heading out to your place to eat. Probably it's a far distance. What are you getting?
Well, we don't have a lot of choices up here. We live pretty remotely in the UP. Somehow have internet. And there's only one restaurant really. So we go there and it's usually breakfast food. That's about the only time we eat out.
Nice. All right. And favorite thing to do in winter?
Snowmobile.
Oh, yes.
If you don't have a snowmobile in the UP, I mean, it's probably not a good choice because you're probably going to get stuck somewhere and need to get out. But it's like floating on water, man. It's great.
It is, man. So I grew up, I'm 50, so I grew up where you could really snowmobile anywhere, where, farms or whatever. Moved here to New England, they've got trails, and you really can't go off the beaten path too much. And what I've noticed over the years, the sled design has changed immensely. All sorts of tech has gone into it now.
Oh, yeah. And price.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Just like those side-by-sides. I don't know if you call them side-by-sides out there, too. Those things are expensive, too.
Yeah, we call them buggies.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there's some that are $30,000-$40,000 now.
That is crazy.
Fully enclosed, power windows, heat, all that stuff. I mean, most people use that as their transportation up here, so they really invest into them.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So, who's the Loyal Patriot? Before you found that Go Live button or created YouTube content, what's your background?
I mean, I'm just a simple dude. I grew up in kind of a hillbilly town and went to school and played college basketball and got a job and blew out my knee. Needed something to do, so I started making YouTube videos of Call of Duty.
Oh, very cool. All right. So now, from a hoop standpoint, do you still follow college or NBA or anything like that?
I follow college. NBA, man, I used to watch every single Pistons game, but I just kind of lost interest over the last few years.
Yeah. That's when I discovered, so, again, East Coast of Canada, you really don't have a whole lot of different channels to choose from, but I grew up with the era of the Bulls and the Pistons. Man, those were good playoff years.
That was a little before my time, but I've seen all the videos.
Man, playoffs, nobody got a free layup. You went to go drive for a layup or a dunk, you got put down, and it was just, those are good games.
You gotta love the bad boys.
Oh, dude. Yeah, we ended up getting Rodman from you guys years later, but John Sally was fantastic. Mahorn, never a Lambeer guy. I just could not like him, and same with Zeke.
Nobody's a Lambeer guy.
Yes, but yeah, and yeah, no, it was good. And Chuck Daly, freaking legend.
Absolutely.
Yep. Actually, we gave you guys. I'm from Connecticut, from Yukon. We gave you guys Rip Helm. I think Rip, right? Rip
God love
Hamilton.
Rip, man. Made a
Yeah.
career off a 15-footer.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. So now, from a video game standpoint, growing up, when did video gaming start for you?
I went to a buddy's house when I've been playing since Nintendo. So I was born in 85, and I think we got our first Nintendo sometime in the early mid-90s.
Yeah.
I played a lot of that, a lot of Mario.
Yeah.
Could not get enough of Mario, but I went to a buddy's house. He had a Nintendo 64. We played Ocarina of Time. That was it. I saved all my lawnmower money, and I was like, I'm getting an N64, and I did, and I played Ocarina of Time more than you can imagine.
Man, I've heard so many people that have come on have talked so much about that game just as one of their favorite of all times. And I think, N64, for when I was growing up, I missed that window from whether it was sports or in between something in my life. The N64 era, it skipped over me. But I've heard so many people love that game.
It just lets you roam around. It was one of the first times I got to do that. It was insane.
And now, when did you jump into PC gaming?
Well, I started doing YouTube videos. I just made kind of like put Metallica in the background, blowing up people with RPGs. I had a series called Camper Meets RPG. I don't know if you've heard of Sandy Ravage.
No.
Legendary Call of Duty guy. He had Booster Justice, where back in the day, these cheaters, he would blow them up with RPGs. But we kind of had our own little series going. And then I made my first commentary in 2011, and people couldn't stop talking about the way I sounded, even though I don't get where all the fuss is.
Oh, my Lord.
And so I started doing commentaries, and then a little while later, I got into PC gaming with DayZ.
Oh, shoot. Okay. Now, much of adjustment to go from, console controller to mouse and keyboard?
I mean, back in the day, I'm getting to that age where I got to say back in the day, your boy was good on the sticks, but yeah, getting over to the DayZ is actually a pretty good transition game for keyboard and mouse.
Ah, okay. And now what, so I guess creating content for YouTube was first. When did you, hit that go live button for the first time?
So that was 2014.
Okay.
And YouTube was starting to make some changes, starting to do a lot of DMCA stuff, which when all of your videos have Metallica and AC/DC, basically every video I had got demonetized. And so people started telling me about live streaming. I was like, man, that sounds weird. So I tried it at first. I didn't use a microphone or anything. I just played Call of Duty.
Yeah.
And then eventually I did a face cam and a microphone and got into DayZ, and man, 9 years later,
Shoot. Yeah, and Metallica are definitely not a fan of anybody using their music.
Not back in the day, that's for sure.
Nope, absolutely not. And now, back then when you're making your YouTube clips, was that your first time doing any editing, or did you have any experience?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was so far removed from, I like to call it the nerd world.
Yeah.
Because I was, just a jock my whole life. I mean, I loved video games, but I spent most of my time outside and playing sports.
Ah, okay.
So when I got into editing, I got a Dazzle capture card.
Oh, man.
The Dazzle from Best Buy was my first capture card.
Oh,
and man, when I got my first HD PVR, and I could do it in 720.
Yeah.
Woo, man, that was world stuff, man.
Awesome. And speaking of nerds, so I actually found you have a YouTube channel called Nerd Farm. I thought that was your first YouTube stuff. So what's Nerd Farm?
So our Nerd Farm is an absolute dead channel.
Okay.
That was an attempt at doing the IRL stuff, doing vlogs. I really enjoy making the videos and editing them and adding music and stuff like that. But I didn't really like recording them because I felt that I was always behind my phone. Yeah. For family events and stuff like that. And so I kind of got away from that. I will absolutely hear it from my community on that because they don't like that I don't do those anymore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I actually started doing some shorter things on a Patreon. I call them mini vlogs, so we kind of do that over there now. But yeah, the Our Nerd Farm sadly has been put to rest.
So now, back in the early days when you're making your YouTube content, did you find that you found the trick to get videos to catch the algorithm, or was it just a lot of trial and error?
Honestly, man, I've been winging it for 9 years. I have no idea. I know search engine optimization, I know all that stuff, but I don't really do it.
Yeah.
I just kind of put it out there, and if people enjoyed, we kind of have a niche community where you either like us or you don't.
Yeah.
We're just a bunch of goofballs over there, and I just keep it nice and chill, and we just kind of wing it. I've been doing it for 9 years, and it works.
Yeah. Oh man. So those first few years of streaming live, that must have been like the Wild West back. We're talking 7 years ago at least.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely changed a lot. The moderation of content and what is allowed, what isn't
Yeah.
allowed, and people not really just staying true to themselves. Obviously, there's lots of people that do, but
Yeah.
kind of just forming their content around rules to get the most clicks. I
Yeah.
just have never really been about that life.
Yeah. Going for like the shock or like, oh my God, the overacting type thing.
Yeah, and the clickbaits and hey man, that's cool for those people. No
Yeah.
judgment for me. That's just not my life.
Yeah. Absolutely. And now over the years, have you seen chat, sort of, grow along with you or just chat, different stages of chat over the years, like different groups of people come along and others shift out?
So I still have a handful of day one subs from 2014 that have not
Wow.
missed a month. I believe we're on 107 months now.
That is fantastic.
And
Holy cow.
I have viewers. I mean, we have the amount of resubs we have over 80 months is insane. I
Yeah.
don't know why I've been blessed to hold on to these people for so long, but it's been pretty fun.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's so cool. And now you started with DayZ. Did have you stayed with DayZ or sprinkle in other games over the years?
So I was pretty much full time DayZ from 2015 ish all the way through probably 2018.
Yeah.
And a lot of other DayZ streamers had kind of bailed, and we were kind of at the top most days. And it got to a point, man, the development of DayZ, I just couldn't take it anymore. So we started adding in variety, and we kind of faded away from the DayZ community. But we still, I'd say a couple streams a week. We still do DayZ.
Yeah. Okay. And now was it a tough adjustment going from your maining a game to start bringing in variety? Did you see a change in viewers or anything like that?
Oh yeah, I mean, like everybody, if you pigeonhole yourself to one game and then try and break away from it, people don't like change. A
Yeah.
lot of people don't. And yeah, I mean, it's the stream number traffic wise has never really been the same since I got away from full time DayZ, but the community has done nothing but grown.
Oh,
The
good.
core community.
Yeah. It seems like in the last few years, DayZ has almost taken another resurgence. It seems.
You can thank the modders for that one.
Yeah.
The modding community has absolutely, I don't want to say saved DayZ. I don't want to diminish what the developers do, but the modding community has brought new life to DayZ and brought a lot of the content that just a small studio couldn't bring.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, actually, so I've been playing Tarkov. That's how I started up on this whole thing a few years ago. And last summer, Tarkov hit a lull, and I ended up, playing some DayZ because I had Ariana on, and she just talked about this wonderful game. That game sat in my Steam library for years. I didn't fire it up, but when I did, what a great game that thing is.
It's one of the most unique games I've ever played because it allows for content creation.
Yeah,
It gives you content and you can create content with it, and you just never know what kind of session you're going to have.
yeah, that's so true. Absolutely. And now, over the years, what's been some of the hardest things about, hitting that go live button every day?
I'm going to be honest. I've been doing this a while, obviously, and I'm not big on social media, but I follow enough people, and it seems like a lot. You see people struggling to go live, talking about being burnt out,
Yeah.
talking about struggling to create content. I'm going to be honest, man. I just don't have that.
Oh,
I
wow.
don't.
That's,
I don't know if it's just because I've just been blessed with such a good community that I'm just
yeah.
always excited to go live. But when I don't really heavily rely on the gaming content and
Yeah.
I rely heavily on the community, it's pretty easy to go live every day.
Oh, that's good to hear. That's refreshing. Yeah, but you're absolutely right. So many people, they hit that burnout, or if it's just, yeah, like having to be on every day. But yeah, that's great.
See, I don't really have an on.
Yeah.
It's
That's
just
just
me,
you.
I just hit go live and I just talk to people.
Yeah.
We like to
Oh,
call we like to call our stream an interactive podcast. The
yeah.
game is just kind of in the background.
Yeah. And that's interesting because I think, something about the career that you do, being a content creator and streaming, often, a lot of content creators are just they're on, and it's really there's no real interactions. They're reading chat, but that human to human contact is there. I think if they don't have a lot of interaction with chat, that's mentally draining on people.
It when you have a very interactive community, an active community, then the bad gaming days don't really matter.
Yeah, yeah, it's not about the game.
And everybody's different. Some
Yeah,
streamers love not having that community feel and they just want to play, and that's cool. But I think that's part of what leads to burnouts because
yeah,
games just get stale when you're putting 8 hours in a day.
yeah.
But if when you have such a great community surrounding you, it's fun pretty much every day. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you don't have days where you're like, man, the traffic has been kind of terrible lately. But you're able to focus on the community, and man, you can just really lift each other up.
Yeah. And then the first time you hit the go live button and you had like strangers come in, what was, that's definitely a different thing.
I mean, I was the people who I talk to now who ask me what I do for a living, and heaven forbid they ask me to go into detail and I have to tell them what I do. I'm 6'6", 275 pounds with a big old beard.
Yeah.
I'm not your stereotypical gamer, and having to explain what I do to people, I start telling them I'm an online entertainer, male
Yeah.
entertainer, just so they stop asking me questions. But it was weird, man. It's still weird. Like, I think to myself, people from all over the world. I have a tiny little stream, but people from all over the world watch. People have me on in their ear pods. People
Yeah.
have me on at work. People have me on their TVs in their shops. It's it's humbling. It is
Yeah.
so incredibly humbling that people use me and our community to fill their days. It's just really awesome.
It is amazing, isn't it? Here, the technology that we have today to be able to, like you said, reach out to everybody in the world. It's so cool.
Well, why watch? And this isn't a shot at Hollywood, even though I can't stand Hollywood. Why watch celebrities and these shows, these pre-made shows, when you can just hang out with everyday people
Yep.
every day?
Yeah. And interact with them.
Yeah, I mean, as much or as little as you want.
Yeah. And since you've been doing this for so many years, I've got to think that, the relationships that you have with your community are just like friendships, IRL friendships or even better.
I've always been a really, really private guy.
Yeah.
And I've always shared what I want to share. But the amount that I know about my viewers is not something I ever saw happening.
Yeah.
I mean, I have people reach out to me with praises, with struggles, with
Yeah.
trials. They have questions. Sometimes I say that I'm a part-time psychologist,
Yeah.
part-time therapist, and I love it. I love that people trust that they can reach out to me and ask me questions or look for my insight. And it's the truest thing of community you can
Yeah.
imagine.
Well, you're like, you're like that local bartender in that local pub, you come in.
Pretty
you just-
much, yeah.
Yeah. That's what it is. That's so cool.
And they hear me ramble all day, so it kind of goes back and forth.
Yeah. And now, over the years, what have been some of the highlights that stick out for you? Like, wow, that was a cool thing, or or somebody reached out to you and you say, yeah, you really helped me on this, because that's just
Honestly, it's corny, but I don't know any of these questions beforehand, so I'm kind of winging it still. But I would say the highlights are when someone reaches out and say that they laughed
Yeah.
because I helped them laugh. Or I always say, I don't care if you're laughing at me or with me, as long as you're laughing, then you're not thinking about whatever else is
Yep.
going on in your day.
Mm-hmm.
So the highlights are definitely the messages that I get, and it's easy to say, hey, I did a great job making them laugh, but I just got to give praise to God that He has given me this opportunity to hopefully make people laugh, hopefully make people forget
Yeah.
about those things. But as far as like the industry goes, definitely having companies reach out to me back in kind of the max viewership days
Yeah.
and flying me out to California to check out New World,
Oh, shoot.
or flying me out to PAX East and representing Lenovo and things like that. It just, if you get into a limo and you feel really cool, like
Yeah.
I'm just this big old redneck getting into a limo and it's just like the coolest thing ever.
Nice.
I took my first Uber because of this job, and my last Uber. I don't ever want to do that again. That was terrible. I don't know how people do that every day, but
Shoot.
it's given me life experiences that I never even considered even trying.
Yeah. Excellent. And then, the other thing is, like you're talking about people making them laugh. It's, when they, whatever situation they're in, they're able to, sort of connect into you and just sort of escape from what, the crap that's going around them. So it's, what you guys do and the communities you build is just, I think it's remarkable.
At the end of the day, it's not my responsibility to take care of any of my viewers, and
Yep.
it's not their responsibility to take care of me. It's not
Yep.
their responsibility to pay my bills. It's not their responsibility to sub to me. There is no you have to do this, but
Yep.
the fact that we willfully engage like that, it's really special. It's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, if anybody's thinking about, making YouTube content or hitting that go live button, any advice from somebody who's been doing it for this long?
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, I get this a lot. I've gotten this a lot over the time I've been
Yeah.
here, and there's lots of tips and tricks videos out there, but I just tell people the same thing. If you want to get into this to make money, there's way better career options.
Yeah.
The fail, I don't want to use failure, but the failure rate of streams is, I mean, it's astronomical. It's one of the most difficult industries to make a steady income in, and it's new. And
Yep.
still, it's still very new, and it's a risk. So don't quit your day job if you really think that you can enjoy it. It's just super corny, but just start.
Yep.
And have good. I always tell people, have good audio. You got to have good audio, and you can kind of work up from there. Do the best you can to whatever you got, but try and have good audio, and then just start and have zero expectations, because this industry owes you absolutely nothing. You could be the best content creator in the world, and this whole entire industry owes you nothing. It's, you see people where you think, oh, their content's not that good, but man, they pull out of traffic. It's good to somebody.
Yep.
Everybody's content is good to somebody. Sometimes you just got to get luck of the draw or put in the effort. You get what you get out,
Yep.
and sometimes you don't get out anything, even though you put in everything. So you just, to me, zero expectations, and you just got to have fun with it. And if it starts to snowball, then run with it.
Yep. Excellent advice. And now something I didn't even think about, when I started, talking to the content creators, is something you guys, you have to, build in, and especially for somebody who's been around as long as you, is, vacation, mental health, just sick days, vacation days, that's not, incorporated into. You have to balance that out with what you do.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's companies out there that you can hire, and they'll help you with sick days and things like that. But I've just been on my own pretty much the whole time, and I don't do the mental health day thing.
Yeah.
I'm just from a different generation. I think I'm not saying they're not important. I'm more of a just kind of keep plowing ahead kind
Yeah.
of person. But I don't really do the mental health day thing, but balancing, knowing that when you take a vacation, it is going to cost you twice as much as what the vacation costs you, because you have no income while you're gone,
Yeah.
is probably the more difficult thing. And honestly, I was really bad about that for the first, probably up until maybe the last year or so. I've actually started taking time off
Yeah.
with the family and just kind of accepting that loss of income, and realizing that it's almost never as bad as what I think it is. And it almost always recovers after a while.
Yeah.
People realize I'm back or whatever, and they come back. People have a very short attention span, like I said. And
They do.
if you're
Definitely.
gone, they're watching someone else, and they could be gone. But when I had a mental check on that, just a mental attitude check of, hey, if they find someone that they really enjoy watching, I should be happy about that, not sad about that.
Yep.
And that really helps you when you might take a break and see a little bit of a dip for a while, just knowing that, hey, man, they might have just found something that they really enjoy, and that's okay. So
Yeah.
I've definitely had to rebalance the amount of time I spend with the family. And I do think that has cost me some momentum and growth,
Mm-hmm.
but I wouldn't change it.
Oh, good. And also, because you've been doing this for long, you have your communities built up around you. So if you do step away for a little bit and you come back, that community is there, will be there for you. Like you said, the numbers may not be where they were, but they'll come back.
And that's why I chosen really to focus on community.
Yeah.
I didn't think to myself, I'm going to focus on community so I could take time off and they'll still be there when I come back. But it's definitely been a nice bonus. We're considering building a new cabin out here,
Oh,
and
nice.
I would be building a lot of it myself, and I would have to take time off of work, and probably 6 weeks I would be minimum streams. And You know what? I'm not really worried about it because my community will be there, and if not, that's okay too, as long
Yeah.
as they're doing something else fun.
Yeah. And now, looking back over the years, is there something, if you could change one piece of it or a couple of pieces, what would you have done differently?
I don't think I would have done anything differently. There's
Nice.
there's tactics.
Yeah.
You can look at it from a business point of view. If I would have stayed full time with DayZ, I probably would be pulling a lot more traffic. But at the end of the day, man, everything we go through forms us. All the trials and tribulations we go through forms us. My wife said something to me the other day. I don't remember where she heard it, but she said, "Suffering is inevitable. Misery is optional."
Mm-hmm.
We're
I
gonna
like
go
that.
through stuff. Your content creation. I'm not trying to get deep with you, but your just keeping it content creation. You're gonna go through ups and downs, and man, it's really up to you how you're gonna respond to that stuff. So I wouldn't really change anything because it's why I am where I am.
It shaped who you are. Yeah. And now you talked a little bit about earlier about, going out to PAX. Have you done any Twitch cons or anything like that?
It's just not really my scene. I'm like out of place, but
Yeah.
with the first one I went to was PAX West in 2017, and I stayed with my boy Potato, another streamer that I
Yeah.
met, and he actually let me stay in his house. And man, that's just the tight knit communities you can get out here.
Yeah.
And I remember walking through the convention center. We came to this hallway, and I'm like, man, this smells like butt, bo, and sadness in here. What is going on? And there's just bean bags lying in these hallways where everyone was just taking naps.
Oh,
And I was
okay.
like, yo, this is just not my scene. I feel like I got to go home and just get some fresh air.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it's fun, man. I'm a nerd at heart,
Yeah.
and it's fun. The conventions are fun, but I just don't really like being around that many people.
Yeah.
It just gets a little too much for me. I'm a country boy, and the city stuff just doesn't do well with me, but it was fun to experience.
Nice. I'll tell you what, as you get older, you like being around crowds even less.
Well, I'm already pretty close to having like my max crowd is 5, so I can't get much lower.
Nice. Since you were, creating content before COVID and post COVID, what was the whole COVID experience like for you? Was it much of a change? Because, being up there in northern Michigan, did it affect you much?
I mean, most of my viewers are adults at work.
Yeah.
So a lot of them weren't working anymore. So we saw a little bit of a dip, but not really that much. And I think that's just more of the consistency of our community.
Mm-hmm.
And me living remotely, it didn't really affect me much at all. So it didn't really change our business. It made me more aware of my viewers and what they might be going
Yeah.
through. It gave me a lot of different perspectives, which is probably one of my favorite things about streaming is all the different perspectives that I've been able to get that I never would have gotten before.
Yeah.
It's helped me grow and expand my thinking. It's just been really amazing in that respect. But
Excellent.
as far as the last 3 years, yeah, it didn't really change much. We just kept plugging away.
When you started out rolling, when did you know you could take this as a full-time career? Was there a certain moment, or was just a gradual increase in your viewership and your community just kept growing?
So in 2011, when I blew out I blew out my knee in 2009. I didn't have insurance, so I had to wait to get it fixed.
Oh,
But
shoot.
I during that time I had a job. I ended up losing that job, the only job I've ever lost in my life, and I became a stay-at-home dad with our first kid in 2012. And I got to tell you, someone who was raised by his mom, who was taught that men work and men provide, that was a tough time for me being a stay-at-home dad.
Yeah.
But man, I wouldn't. I tell this to my viewership all the time. The things that we go through, you never know what the next step is. You could think it's the worst thing in the world, and it turns into the biggest blessing you could
Yeah.
possibly imagine. And staying home with my daughter was life changing in the
Oh,
most amazing ways. And going through all of that and then starting the stream because I just needed something to do while she was taking a nap.
yeah.
It it got to about 2015, 2016. I was talking to KD Wolf, which is another big DayZ guy, Dado, and a lot of my close knit, community, and they just told me just go for it. So I wasn't the kind of guy who had to quit my job to go full time streaming. I was a stay at home dad, and I just worked my schedule around my daughter napping at first, and then eventually went full time when she went to daycare
Oh,
because
wow.
I started making more than what her daycare cost.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, it's it. We'll go full time, and that was 2016. I was partnered in July 2014. So yeah, it'll be 9 years next month or in
Holy
July.
cow. And now Twitch Partner back then, I'm sure it's different than what it is today. I think it was, we're talking to Deadly and whatnot. The requirements were kind of like steep back then too.
I want to say in 2014, the requirements might have been, boy, I don't want to misspeak. It was a lot. You
Yeah.
had to have, I think, 10,000 followers, and the average viewership was a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up not doing the partnership process. I ended up finding a Twitch contact. His name was Hassan, and I emailed him and I say, hey, listen, I don't meet these minimum requirements, but man, I've got a community behind me. I have people who are adults who have their own money, and they'll subscribe, and most of my viewers are subscribers, and I really think if you just give me a chance, it'll work out. And he said okay, and he gave me my partnership.
No way.
Yeah, so I actually didn't really go through the whole thing, and obviously different time, you couldn't get away with doing that now, but
No, that is so cool.
yeah, and then they gave me my partnership, and I want to say 3 months later, I basically quit streaming and went back to school to finish up my associates because I had thought about going into the police academy.
Yeah.
And after all that was done and some crazy things going on in the world, I didn't think that was a good idea anymore. Yep. So I went back to streaming, and my community was right there, and we just took off running from there.
Oh, that's so cool. That's excellent. And that's, over the years, have you stuck with now the same schedule now? Sort of that morning stream, morning afternoon stream?
Yeah. So when I first started, it was 7 to midnight.
Yeah.
Because that was the only time I could find. But when I went full time, I've basically been between 9 and 5 the entire time.
End of the day, you're able to hang with the family.
Yeah, I've been real strict on that. I can look at it, and I can look at the analytics and say, nah, this would be a better time slot. But dollars and cents are dollars and cents. All this stuff's going to burn one day. You can't take it with you. So, I just like to make enough to pay the bills and then kind of stick to family time.
Yeah, absolutely. So now, over the years, you've seen a lot of people come and go from a content creation standpoint. And do you ever hear from the people that sort of have slipped away, or that sort of have just moved on?
I still keep in contact with Dado and KD. I have both of their numbers. We text back and forth. Not as close as we used to be, obviously.
Yeah,
we all got our own lives and we live across the country, but I stay in contact with them. But I've always kind of been before those guys and after those guys. I'm just kind of a lone wolf. I'm just kind of out here doing my thing. So I don't keep. But in fairness, I don't talk to anybody from high school or college or any time earlier in my life. It's basically just me and my family and my church and a few people online, and I kind of like it that way.
Nothing wrong with that, man. You know who you're dealing with. That's it.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And they're good people too.
And that's even better. Knowing, being surrounded with family and good people. What more can you ask for?
It's not about how many people you got around you. It's about how many of them are good.
Yep, absolutely. I had a friend of mine, Sigma. She streams, and she has this. I think it was her dad gave her a statement. 4 quarters still makes $1, whether it's 100 pennies or 4 quarters. I'd rather have 4 good friends than 100 smaller friends.
A lot easier to lose 100 pennies.
Yes. Yeah. So now, from a DayZ standpoint, what was the hook that game had on you that just sucked you in for so many years?
At first, it was just trying something new.
Yeah.
And man, my first time at Balota Airfield, running behind some barracks and hearing footsteps and shooting and getting that kill, and my heart was flying.
Yeah.
And growing up playing competitive sports and playing college basketball, one of my favorite things about it was just the adrenaline.
Mm-hmm.
Just the crowds cheering and screaming, and me going up on a breakaway and throwing one down and just having the crowd going nuts. I loved that. It was just such a high,
Yeah.
So it's silly, but when I got that in a video game, since I couldn't really play competitive anymore, I mean, I could still throw down, but not being in college or doing that stuff anymore, Call of Duty gave me that competitive edge. But then, man, when you have kind of that slow buildup like you do in DayZ, man, that adrenaline rush was awesome. I don't get that anymore. I enjoy DayZ for other reasons, but that's really what drew me to it.
Yeah. Any games out there that gives you that rush anymore?
Honestly, we really focus on simulation games.
Yeah.
Like we play DayZ, but we play a lot of simulation games. And my goal every day is to not only make an income for my family, but it's just to make people laugh. And when I can play a simulation game with a bunch of NPCs and give them life, do their voices for them, have interactions with have interaction. I have more interactions with AI in a game than I do with, people in real life, which is not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
But being able to kind of bring that game to life and just be an absolute goofball is probably my favorite thing to play right now.
Any games you're looking forward to that are that are coming out?
Honestly, the only one I was looking forward to is Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild, and my family and I are playing that by ourselves in the evenings. I really wanted to stream it, but I was like, guys, I'm going to play that with the family.
Yeah.
So we're a handful of hours into it now, and obviously no spoilers, but I'm really enjoying it so far.
Excellent.
It brings back the Ocarina of Time memories,
Nice. And now,
Also, just a side note, I would love Tarkov to get in gear. That would be nice. I'm actually a Tarkov player too.
oh no way. Okay.
And man, the gun porn, I'm a gun guy.
Yeah.
The gun porn is probably my favorite thing about the game.
Yeah.
But man, I'm just hanging back. I'm not like a lot of the Tarkov community who's just really upset right now, which I get it. I'm just hanging back and waiting. I don't really play it that much because I just kind of get tired of getting reset all the time.
Yep.
And man, I hope they can get it figured out because what a game.
Oh, I know. That game has ruined so many games for me just because, like you said, the gun porn, the heart rate. You talked about your memories of DayZ. I have so many memories that are just so vivid playing that game. It's just it's a special game. But yeah, this last patch they've really messed things up from an audio standpoint. But if they could pull it together, man, there's not many games can top that.
I think they just need to keep their heads down and just keep working, in my opinion. I don't think they need to get too caught up in the social media stuff.
Nope, absolutely.
And that's another game that'll give you that rush.
Oh,
especially with the tactics and the sound. I'm a big sound guy.
Yeah.
And man, when you can get a couple of PMC kills and get out of a raid with some good stuff, it's a good feeling every time,
Oh.
And that's one of those games, especially now with VoIP.
Yes.
It really has changed the dynamic and it's added a whole nother layer. And man, I really hope they can hone that in because I've always said I wish DayZ, Tarkov, and Scum would have a baby.
Yeah.
Because it would just an open world Tarkov with hunting would just be incredible.
Yes. Yep.
And I hope that they can figure it out because I would love to keep Tarkov in the rotation.
Yeah. Yeah, because like when I jumped over to DayZ last summer, I was like, man, just you said, Tarkov, Scum, and DayZ, that's like there's the gun mechanics of Tarkov in with DayZ, and just oh man, that would be.
Don't get me started on DayZ reloading guns with their finger on the trigger, man. Keep that booger hook off the bang switch. But Tarkov, man, their attention to detail is pretty amazing. I don't think I've seen a game like that.
Yep. And how you can just mod out your guns and even like having the different bullets have the effect. Yeah, it's just that talk about a steep learning curve on that game. That one is.
Oh yeah. Man, I always tell people like DayZ, you need 50 hours before you can really even just get the hang of what's going on. You might even need more than that in Tarkov.
Yeah.
But once it clicks, and it's not as confusing as you think it is, but it takes a while to get to that point.
And I don't know if it was, I can't remember, maybe it was Echo or one of the DayZ people came on. We were talking about Tarkov. Tarkov, you have gear fear. In DayZ, there was stuff fear. Like, I lost my matches or, that stuff that you don't want to lose when you die. It's like, oh, yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, I mean, gear fear has been around a long time, but gear fear is real for DayZ players. You got them hoarders that just like to grab everything. And man, when they die, it's like the end of the world because they invested so long into it. But yeah, Tarkov, man, you can't have gear fear. Just roll in and if it goes wrong, it goes wrong. Just learn from it and keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, the other neat thing about DayZ I found was like when talking to Ariana, we talked about her longest character she had alive, and it was like 6 months. Like, that's just wild thinking about you have this one character that you started with nothing, and now, and then when she said when that character died, she was like, oh my god, it's like a piece of her is like gone. It's like that's just a wild concept.
Yo, if I'm at 6 hours, I'm pretty happy. I mean, I pushed the envelope, I think, a little more than Ariana, but yeah, if I can keep one alive for a whole day, it was a pretty good day. I like to give people, I like to say, I want to give them a chance to be interesting.
Yeah.
So even though I know I'm going into a situation where they're probably going to be aggressive, I just want to give them a chance to be interesting. A lot of times they're not. They just shoot me right in the face. But sometimes they're interesting and it works out. But it definitely leads to shorter character lives.
Oh, shoot. So now, you know, when you sign off for the day, you're hanging with the family. What are some things you guys like to do? So, you know, Nintendo is right now.
Yeah, we game kind of right before bed.
Yeah.
But you know, being out where we are, you know, we've got firewood prep and we've got outdoor prep. I've got land to manage, and we've got, you know, a decent amount of property out here, and I've got driveways to drag. We're hoping to be clearing space for, you know, a new house,
Yeah.
and we have just a lot of maintenance stuff we have to do out here. But we spend a lot of time outside. In the winter, we spend a lot of time inside when you got 4 or 5 feet of snow on the ground. But
Oh yeah.
if we're not snowmobiling, you know, we're pretty much inside.
And now I
But
saw you do maple syrup.
yeah, we only tapped I think 23 trees this year.
Yeah.
Our pastor actually gave us 120 gallons of sap
Oh wow.
because he did not plan ahead and didn't know how he was going to cook it because his cooker broke. So we bought that new cooker, and it was cooking about 10, 15 gallons an hour. And I think we ended up with, not including what we gave back to him for his sap,
Yeah.
I think we yielded 7 or 8 gallons this year.
Oh wow.
And it's good stuff, man.
It is. Yeah.
So our property's probably 80% maple. We could
Yep.
probably do 1,000 taps if we
Oh,
really
wow.
wanted to. I don't think we'll ever get to something like that, but my goal is 100 taps.
Yeah. Yeah, my dad up in Ottawa, he does it. Not this year. He's late 70s, so it's, you know, slowing down. But I'm just amazed on how much sap you have, and then doing like 1 or 2 boils, you end up with it's just so little.
40 to 1.
Yeah,
40
it's
to 1 is
crazy.
40 gallons of sap to 1 gallon of maple. It's usually pretty close depending on if it's a hard maple or a
Yep.
soft maple. But yeah, it's sad, but a lot of people don't know you could just straight up drink that sap if you want to.
Yep.
It actually has a lot of nutrients in it. I assume the first person who scraped a tree or tapped a tree and drank out of it didn't even think about cooking it down. They just drank it.
Right. Yeah.
It's good for you.
Yeah. No, I remember like, so he'll when he goes to do the boil, it's all straight up wood. He just, you know, starts at like 4:30 in the morning, and that's the first boil. And it's just like he has like 300-liter tank, and it's a long day, but yeah, it's fun. You know,
What's a
people
liter?
stop by.
I'm just messing with you. Yeah, we do all wood too. We got
Yep.
a wood cooker, and we split wood, and we usually go through about a face cord of wood a day, and it's an all day thing. I mean,
Absolutely.
8 hours, 8 to 10 hours. We'll be
Yep.
out there cooking maple for, you know, 3-4 days out
Yep.
of the season.
Ah, very cool.
So when you're going to the store and you look at maple and it's $20 for a pint or something, that's because a lot of time went into that maple.
Absolutely. Yep. And now how about summer? What, when it's not winter, what are you guys doing? Any hunting, camping, fishing?
Yeah, so I'm surrounded by federal land.
Oh, wow.
Basically 3 sides of my property is federal land. So and the other side's a road. So we have access to federal through our trail system.
Nice.
And so we just get in the buggy, the side by side, and we just go and we go fishing. We are surrounded by little tiny lakes everywhere. I mean, it's some of the most beautiful nature.
Yeah.
Flat, but it's some of the most beautiful nature that you can see. The UP has some of the most intricate trail systems in the entire country, I'm pretty sure. And so you really don't ever ride the same trail twice if you don't want to. So we just go out and ride. We pack some snacks and some fishing poles, and we just go.
Oh, very nice. Now, do you ever get out any ice skating on those small lakes?
So I have size 18 feet. So I ain't doing no ice skating, although I was big into hockey when I was a kid. The Red Wings of the late 90s, man.
Yep.
that was where it was at.
You guys had a dynasty.
Konstantinov and Fedorov and all those guys, man.
Yeah.
I was real young for that, but I ate that up.
Oh,
But once my feet got too big for the skates, I got away from it. But there are some places that you can go ice skating on that they keep the snow cleared off
Yeah.
and everything, and the kids enjoy it.
Excellent. Oh, man. All right. Well, dude, thank you for doing this pod. Really appreciate hearing your story. But before you go, I got, like Ariana shouted you out, who in your space that you think would have a good story to come on?
Man, there's a lot of names that I think people would really enjoy their stories. I'm trying. There's some I would say, but I know they're really busy.
No worries.
I would say I'd like to call out KD Wolf. I think.
All right. All right, Katie Wolf.
If he tells you no, you tell him to text me, and I'll get it. I'll get it sorted.
All right, there we go. All right, my friend. Well, thank you so much for doing this, and it was awesome meeting you.
Hey, man, I really appreciate you having me on.